Hi, Year 11. I thought I might try something a little bit different for the tutorial this week. Um, and I would try giving you some background information on the film we're going to study before you actually come to the tutorial. So you're coming into that with a little bit of background knowledge. You're coming into it having seen the film. And hopefully that will mean that you'll be able to get a little bit more out of our tutorial. I also thought that this is a good way that if you want to refer back to this at any time, then you can. And it also lets you guys watch it at time that suits you. So we're looking at the film 12 Angry Men. It's a 1957 film directed by Sidney Lumet. He was born in 1924 in Philadelphia. Began his career as a director of off-Broadway plays, and then he's moved into TV. This screenplay was actually adapted from a live television performance which took place in 1954. Henry Fonda, who plays juror number 8, absolutely loved it when he saw it on television and wanted to turn it into a movie. His friend Sidney Lumet, was involved in television, and he thought, right, he's a great choice for it. So it was actually Lumet's feature film debut. I thought I might also give you a little bit of general historical context so you can situate your understanding of the film within that. So it takes place in mid to late 1950s America. So post Second World War, lots and lots of post-war immigration, huge fears of communism and being anti-communism is an absolute preoccupation in America at this time. There's massive amounts of racial segregation, and it's the beginnings of the civil rights movements. At the time, juries were predominantly white Anglo-Saxon males, and this really stems from the fact that at the time, lawyers were white Anglo-Saxon males, and they're the people who were selecting juries. So you end up, there's no people of colour, there's no women. It's a very homogenous bunch of people who get to serve on juries. Okay, so this is part 2 of our look at the background of 12 Angry Men. So the setting, we look into that a bit further. You've got the Cold War is going on, which is tension between the US and Russia. It's basically a race for who can be the global superpower. You've also got the Korean War going on. The death penalty is still used in many places in America, including New York, which is where the film is set. And there is, largely tied in with the Cold War, there's this massive fear of communism within American society. It's huge. It's all-encompassing for American government at that point in time. So on that side, you've got this fear of communism. On the other side, though, you've got post-World War II optimism. It's a time of, people are so thankful that the war is finished. There's economic prosperity, there's jobs, housing is easily available. The rise in consumer goods like fridges, cars, TVs are sort of starting to come in. And you may have heard of the phrase baby boomers. This is when they were born. So you might have seen the meme, okay boomer. This is where this is coming from. This is the people that is referring to. I also think, as well as being aware of the context of the actual historical period, it's important to also be aware of your own context and your own experiences and background when you're viewing this film, and indeed when you're viewing or reading anything. Always be aware that you're bringing your own experiences to the way that you respond to the characters and events within it. And it's also a very relevant film in the sense that we still live in a time where there's fears. You can compare that with what was going on in terms of communism. It's now, fears of refugees and people and religions that people don't have any understanding of. They are fearful of them. And this is, again, not unlike the fear of communism during the 1950s. So coming back to 12 Angry Men, this is a drama about the jury system. Looks at the strengths, weaknesses, and its dangers. I think it's important to be aware of the idea that the legal system is based on the logical evaluation of evidence, and the film wants us to believe that it's possible to reconstruct evidence using logic and a critical analysis. One of the other interesting things about the film is the fact that the jurors are not named. They're only given numbers. I think that this allows them to become symbols for various groups in 1950s America. They're representative of these groups. They're not to be seen as individuals. Now, here is some points about the film, which I will let you guys read in your own time. Very briefly want to speak about the natural style of the dialogue within the film. It's how normal people speak, and normal 1950s people. So you're thinking that the language reflects the diversity of the jury and therefore the diversity of US society. So you can look at the way that the German watchmaker, Juror 11, speaks. You can compare that with how Juror number 4, the stockbroker, speaks, and compare that again with Juror number 5, who is the guy who grew up in the slums. Things that I want you guys to think about when you're viewing this film is think about how things like the set, stage directions, dialogue, plot development, how these all contribute to the themes and issues. I want you to think about film techniques such as camera angles and the lenses that might have been used. And I will talk about that in a bit more detail in the next part. Okay, so this is part 3. This is the last part of our background. At the end of part 2, I was talking about the film techniques. And I want you to think about that in terms of the camera angles that are used, and also in terms of the actual lenses that are used to shoot the film. As the film goes on, the lenses get longer and longer, which gives the visual effect of the walls coming in and the ceiling lowering, which adds to this feeling of claustrophobia within the jury room as the emotional tensions go up and the feeling of claustrophobia, really intensifies towards the end of the film. And then you think about that last shot where they're outside and it's like a breath of fresh air. When you get out of the courtroom, it's like, and we're back into a wide angle lens, and it's, you feel there's a sense of freedom in that last shot. You can also look at it in terms of camera angles. It starts off above eye level, moves to in the middle of the film, you can see that it's at eye level, and then at the end of the film, it's below eye level. And this was done deliberately by Lumet so that you can increase, again, that feeling of claustrophobia. I would like you to think about who might be the protagonist and the antagonist, which characters you think might fit these roles. Think about the irony that is evident in the film, and also thinking about this quite difficult legal conception about reasonable doubt. I'll give you guys some more resources on this as we go through, because this is an extremely difficult concept to wrap your head around, and but I think it's very central to an understanding of the film. So today I would like us to start thinking about the major themes. And the 4 major themes that we're going to be focusing on are that of power, justice, prejudice, and truth. There's other themes. There's many themes within this. They're just the ones that we're going to focus on. There's other themes you can think about, such as decision making, civic duty, conflict, stereotyping, bias. There's a whole bunch of stuff in there that you can think about. But we are going to be focused on power, justice, prejudice, and truth. So in preparation for our shoot on Wednesday, I'd like you to have a think about what those 4 words mean to you. And we'll have a bit more of a chat about that on Wednesday. And I'll see you then.